Okay, that's gonna be a short intro in this video. I'm just gonna show you how to set your Sony camera to perform better in a difficult lighting scenarios. Let's do it. Hello everyone, my name is Magic. I'm a wedding photographer, Sony Europe ambassador, father of 4 children. Welcome to my YouTube channel where I talk mostly about gear, weddings, photography, stuff like that. If you're into it, consider subscribing and following my Instagram as I show a lot of photos and behind the scenes on my Insta stories. So today I'm going to show you how to improve your autofocus in a Sony A7 IV camera, and not only A7 IV, also A9 Mark II, A7R4, A7S3 or A1, so all the newer cameras. Unfortunately not A7 III or A7R3, as these cameras are older. And I'm quite surprised that no one is talking about the settings. It's called Aperture Drive, and I think that especially for wedding photographers this is a major thing. So let me show you how to set this up. So first of all, you might have noticed that shooting mirrorless Sony cameras, when you set your camera to a certain aperture, your camera is always working at this aperture. So by looking at the viewfinder or LCD screen, you will always see the depth of field that you're gonna get in the final photo. The things get more difficult when you're trying to shoot at higher f aperture values, so like f8 maybe, and it's getting darker and darker. You might see that your camera autofocus is not performing as good as when shooting in bright scenarios. Again, this is only when you are shooting high aperture values in a dark conditions. It won't affect your performance at all if you're shooting wide open, because then you're wide open all the time, so camera can easily grab focus and there's more light coming to the sensor. But luckily there is a solution to that in the new cameras. So the feature called Aperture Drive, by default it is set to standard, so it does operate exactly like I just described. But then if you set it to focus priority, even if you are shooting, with closed aperture like f8 or f11, the camera will open the aperture a bit if it's dark in order to focus better in these, difficult conditions. And you will see the major difference between these two settings when shooting in the dark, at the higher aperture values. You can actually test it out yourself. The downside to this is that you won't get the 100% depth of field, preview in your viewfinder or the screen, as the camera is not close to the aperture you are shooting. It will close down just for the moment you click the shutter. But there's also a solution to that, and it's known from a DSLR cameras. You can set one of your custom buttons in your camera to give you the aperture preview. So then you can just easily click on this button and hold this button in order to preview your aperture, and then the camera will close the aperture. You can look through the viewfinder, you can look on your screen, and you will see the actual, aperture DOF effect. There's one more possible downside of this focus priority feature that it's set in the manual of the camera. Let me read it for you. It says, when focus priority is selected, sound from the aperture drive may be audible, or the aperture effect may not be visible on the monitor. To avoid these phenomena, change the settings to standard. So yeah, so they say that you won't get the full preview of your depth of field, but also you can hear the sound of the aperture changing. I don't think it is a big deal, but also if you need, you can set whole focus priority thing to a custom button as well. So you can have it set to standard for most of the times you're shooting, and then only if you're going, maybe on the dance floor, and if you want to utilize the f5.6 or 8 or 11, and you see the camera starts to struggle, you can just quickly switch it back to focus priority. The sound won't make problem for you. I don't think that depth of field preview is gonna make a problem for you as well in that situation. So that will just improve your autofocus. like massively. So I actually do recommend to change this setting to focus priority, or at least have it, you know, on one of your custom buttons so you can quickly change it, because especially for us wedding photographers, it might be a big deal in a certain situations. So for me, I actually set my A7 IV cameras to focus priority at all times. That is my default setting as for now. And then on the lens, I have this custom button on the lens assigned to a aperture preview. I hope that helps. I'm actually working on a full guide how to set your Sony A7 IV for weddings. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss this. This is gonna be a big one. And yeah, make sure you check my previous video when I show how I edit my Sony A7 IV files, since Lightroom has just dropped an update and we can finally read those files. This is a great video actually. So yeah, so see you guys in 2022.